Do any of these challenges sound familiar? You're concerned that your organisation, having made huge strides forwards on the change process, is losing momentum, and some of your workforce are sliding back to the old ways of working. Your organisation has change fatigue. Your workforce feels like it's undergoing constant change projects and restructures, but it never settles in a consistent place long enough for it to meet performance expectations. You're leaking talent. There's a lot of turnover in your organisation, and it's costing a significant amount in recruitment just to stay afloat. Keeping high performance is a challenge, and the people who remain are resistant to change. If those statements resonated with you, or your organisation is facing other challenges regarding lack of skills, lack of experience, low morale, or struggling to compete for the workforce it needs, it's likely that your organisation or team is trying to embed and sustain change. The early stages of a human psychological process of transition is called endings, and the final stage is called new beginnings. It's at this new beginning stage where your workforce has largely let go of the past and is starting to experiment with a new future, and now it's deciding if that reality is actually something it wants to be a part of. The first two stages of the psychological process of transition can largely be planned, scheduled, and facilitated. However, the new beginning stage can't be dated. Beginnings follow the timing of the mind and the heart. If your organisation has an enduring legacy of failed change, moving past this phase is either something that hasn't happened or has been a very painful process. I have personal lived experience where I've been talking to a new hire on their second day of employment, and they've disclosed concerns about the impact of a failed change project that happened 5 years prior to their employment. So believe me when I say that a legacy of failed change will endure and it won't be silenced. Inability to break the chain or create a new narrative will result in larger resistance to any of your future change projects. When I think of this stage of the psychological process of transition, I think to the Beatles singing "Here Comes the Sun," and I say, it's alright. The reason I have that association is because this is a new dawn for your organisation, and we want to start realising the benefits of why we undertook this change project in the first place. Here's a breakdown of what's happening at this stage of your organisational change. Every individual is likely to be in one of three mental states at any given moment during this stage of transition, but will probably be switching between them pretty rapidly. The first state is disillusionment. They've seen enough for them to recognise that this change is not for them. If your organisation is going to force them to change, they'd probably rather go somewhere else. The second state is hostility. In this mindset, they're going to resist the change at every turn. Any opportunity they can find to drag your organisation back to the way that things were, they're going to find. Any benefit they can debunk or indication that this change isn't everything it's cracked up to be is going to fuel the narrative that it's time to go back to the old ways. The third state is gradual acceptance, moving towards a decision to be part of the change and to make it work for themselves and for the organisation. This is the wagon that we want to get people on board, and we need to try and stop them falling off it. These people are seeing the rising sun and they're thinking to themselves, it's going to be alright. You've probably seen at this stage of the change project, your organisation falls into the trap of losing consistency and behaviour in messaging from visible leaders of the change as they prematurely lift their foot off the gas pedal. This happens because other priorities begin to become more prominent and people begin to speak about how long the change has taken. Change that isn't managed tends to take even more time and be even more painful, so the level of fatigue is much stronger. Those leading the change just want it to be over, whereas most of the organisation are just about finding their feet with it. Performance is down and mistakes are prominent. It's at this point your organisation might have stopped recognising the impact of symbolic decisions and how much it can affect your workforce. It can also be a battle of wills between those in your organisation who are embracing change and those who are resisting it. It might be the point where your organisation just gives in and settles somewhere in between the old way and the new way, not really realising the intended benefits that it was aiming for. In a lot of cases, organisations just go through restructure after restructure after restructure because they think starting again is easier than fixing the current challenges. By taking this approach, your employees end up saying, here we go again. High-performing talent will just move on because they can actually reach their performing potential elsewhere. Being resilient in the face of change is one thing, but if no one in your organisation is capable of attaining self-actualization in their role because the goalposts change every couple of years, that's going to be detrimental to your organisation's performance. Now, We live in a time where we are at the beginning of the digital revolution and undergoing digital transformation, as well as defining a post-pandemic workplace. Change happens rapidly and frequently, so organisations who can react quickest are the ones who thrive. If we are going to fend off change fatigue, it has never been more important to apply change management understanding to your change projects in order to get your workforce through it as quickly and as effectively as possible. The more practiced your organisation is at dealing with the psychological process of transition in a supportive and holistic way, the better your workforce will be at managing future and frequent change. There's a 4P approach that your organisation needs to take to get through the final psychological transition. The first is purpose. We need to give our workforce a future after the change which encourages people to make it work. The next is picture. This will engage the creative imagination of those affected by the change so they can start to feel a positive situation after the change. The next is plan. This needs to be a credible, clear route into implementing the change. Finally, everyone in your workforce needs a part to play, both in execution of the plan and in the new world after the change has been accomplished. In this transitional stage, it is vital to highlight the visible early successes that encourage and reassure your workforce. It is also important to celebrate key milestones on the change journey, especially the journey's end. That's a whistle-stop tour of some of the basic change concepts in the late phases of change. I hope you found it helpful, but I completely appreciate it might feel overwhelming and a bit of a minefield. You might feel like you'd benefit from some support. If you would like to have a no-obligation discovery meeting to discuss your organisation's requirements, then go to www.cerebration.space/meeting. You can also take or retake our free questionnaire that once you've completed it will provide you with an indication of where your organisation or team might be on its change journey and give you tailored content, advice and ideas to support. You can also watch the other videos in this playlist to deepen your understanding of the psychological process of change and transition.